From the cold, wind-beaten steppes of Central Asia, a storm was brewing, a storm that would one day swallow empires, kingdoms, and civilizations whole. The 12th century world was vast, divided, and complacent. To the east, China was split between rival dynasties. To the west, the Islamic world flourished in wealth, yet fractured in power. Europe was rebuilding after centuries of internal wars. None of them knew that beyond their borders, a force was gathering, one that would soon rewrite the order of the world. His name was Temujin, a man born into hardship, betrayal, and survival. As a child, he was abandoned by his tribe, left to die in the wilderness with his mother and brothers, but from that suffering a fire was forged. Temujin learned that power did not come from wealth or birth. It came from loyalty, fear, and unity. By 1206, he had done what no one before him dared to dream. He united the endless, warring Mongol tribes under one banner. And when his warriors lifted that black horsehair standard against the wind, the world trembled. Temujin became Genghis Khan, universal ruler. His vision was not of mere conquest, but of destiny. The steppes had hardened his people. They were riders without equal, archers who could strike targets while galloping full speed, and soldiers who obeyed without question. Every man was part of a greater machine, a living organism of speed, strategy, and terror. Genghis Khan once said, "Man's greatest joy is to conquer his enemies, to drive them before him, to take from them all that they possess." But to him, conquest wasn't just about destruction. It was about uniting the world under one order, his order. The Mongols' first great test came in northern China against the powerful Jin Dynasty. The Jin controlled a vast empire rich in cities, fortresses, and resources, everything the steppe nomads lacked. But the Mongols had something the Jin could not match: adaptability. In 1211, Genghis led a massive campaign southward. Tens of thousands of horsemen crossed the Great Wall, not to defend it, but to burn what lay beyond. The Jin armies outnumbered them, but numbers meant nothing to the Mongols. They moved like shadows, appearing from nowhere, vanishing into mist. The Mongols surrounded Jin fortresses and starved them into submission. They learned siegecraft from captured Chinese engineers, building catapults, siege towers, and even early gunpowder weapons. Within years, they had transformed from steppe warriors into masters of siege warfare. By 1215, the Jin capital Zhongdu, modern Beijing, fell. The Mongols stormed through the walls, burning and looting for days. Witnesses wrote of entire streets filled with corpses, the sky dark with smoke. What had once been the proud heart of northern China was now a charred ruin. But Genghis was not reckless. He left the conquered lands under Mongol administration, taxing them efficiently and allowing trade to flow. For him, wealth was not just plunder, it was power, fuel for the empire's future wars. The fall of the Jin dynasty was not the end. It was merely the beginning. The Mongols had tested their strength against one of the world's greatest powers, and won. Now their eyes turned west. In 1218, a caravan of Mongol merchants arrived in the flourishing empire of Khwārazm in modern-day Iran and Central Asia. They came under the banner of peace, seeking trade. But the governor of the city of Otrar saw only spies and executed them all. When news reached Genghis Khan, he sent envoys demanding justice. The Khwārazm Shah, arrogant and dismissive, murdered them too, shaving their heads and sending them back as an insult. It was a fatal mistake. Genghis Khan did not forgive betrayal. He would not merely punish the Shah, he would erase his empire. In 1219, the Mongols descended upon Khwārazm like a divine plague. Their armies crossed deserts once thought impassable. Their horses drinking from rivers that ran red, they moved in multiple columns, encircling cities with terrifying precision. The city of Bukhara fell first. When Genghis entered its great mosque, he stood before the people and declared, "If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." Samarkand, Urgench, and Nishapur followed, each annihilated in turn. Entire populations were slaughtered, rivers were clogged with bodies. The Khwārazm Shah fled in terror, pursued to the edge of the Caspian Sea, where he died alone. For the first time, the world understood that the Mongols were not just another invading army, they were an unstoppable force of nature. No fortress was safe, no river too wide, no empire too far. But beneath the horror lay genius. Genghis's use of intelligence networks, rapid communication, and psychological warfare reshaped the art of war forever. Among all the Mongol campaigns, few inspired as much dread as the siege of Nishapur in 1221. The city had killed Genghis's son-in-law during a rebellion, and that sealed its fate. When the Mongols returned, vengeance burned brighter than strategy. The siege was swift, brutal, and final. As the walls fell, the Mongols killed nearly every living soul, men, women, children, and even animals. Chroniclers claimed over 1 million people died. Whether true or not, the terror of Nishapur echoed across the Islamic world. Fear became Genghis's most powerful weapon. Cities began surrendering without a fight. Knowing resistance meant annihilation. But within this destruction, a strange order took shape. One where trade thrived, roads were protected, and communication stretched from China to the Caspian. By the time Genghis Khan died in 1227, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the edge of Europe. Yet even in death, his legacy was far from finished. Under Genghis's descendants, the Mongols pushed west again. The torch of conquest passed to Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis. His target was the heart of the Islamic world, Baghdad, the jewel of the Abbasid Caliphate. In 1258, the Mongol armies arrived outside the city's walls. Baghdad was ancient, magnificent, a city of libraries, scholars, and splendor. But it was also proud, and the Caliph refused to surrender. The Mongols built massive siege engines, bombarding the walls for days. When they breached the city, chaos erupted. Palaces burned, mosques collapsed, and the great libraries, home to centuries of Islamic knowledge, were thrown into the Tigris River. It was said the waters ran black with ink and red with blood. The Caliph was wrapped in a carpet and trampled to death beneath Mongol horses, a symbolic end to the golden age of the Abbasids. To the Islamic world, it was an unthinkable tragedy. To the Mongols, it was simply another victory, another empire absorbed into their expanding dominion. While Hulagu burned Baghdad, another Mongol force swept into Eastern Europe, led by Batu Khan, a grandson of Genghis, and the brilliant general Subutai. In 1241, their armies crossed the frozen rivers of Poland and Hungary. The European knights, proud, armored, and confident, had never faced anything like them. The Mongols fought not with brute strength, but with movement, deception, and coordination. At the Battle of Legnica, Polish and German forces were annihilated. At the Battle of Mohi, the Hungarian army, one of Europe's strongest, was encircled and destroyed. Europe stood defenseless. The road to Vienna lay open. Panic spread through Christendom. Was this the end of the world? And then the Mongols stopped. News had come that the great Khan Ugedei had died. By Mongol custom, all princes had to return to Mongolia to elect a new leader. Europe was spared, not by strength, but by fate. But even in retreat, the Mongols had left a message. No land was too far, no enemy too mighty. The world now lived under the shadow of the horsemen from the east. By the late 13th century, the Mongol Empire had reached its greatest extent, stretching from Korea to the borders of Germany, from Siberia to the Persian Gulf. It was the largest contiguous land empire in human history, but empires built by the sword do not last forever. Over time, the Mongols fractured into the Yuan dynasty in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, and the Golden Horde in the West. Their unity dissolved, but their impact endured. They reopened the Silk Road, connecting East and West as never before. Ideas, inventions, and goods flowed freely. Paper, gunpowder, and printing traveled across continents. They protected merchants, encouraged diplomacy, and even practiced religious tolerance, a rare concept for their time. Yet, for all their achievements, they are remembered most for their ruthlessness. Entire cities erased, populations exterminated, cultures wiped from the map. The Mongol conquests remain a paradox, civilization's destroyers who also became its great connectors. Even centuries later, the name Genghis Khan still commands awe and fear. To some, he was a barbarian, a butcher who drowned civilizations in blood. To others, he was a visionary, a man who united tribes and reshaped the world. History rarely grants simple judgments. The Mongols were both creators and destroyers, heroes and villains, depending on which side of their horse you stood. Their legacy lingers not just in the ruins they left, but in the systems they built, the trade they inspired, and the lessons they taught. That unity is power, that speed can defeat strength, and that in war, intelligence can be deadlier than any sword. As the dust of history settles over the steppes, one truth remains. The Mongols did not just conquer the world, they changed it.